There's a 3-page document most agents will never show you. It doesn't have a dramatic name, it's not hidden in a vault, it's sitting inside your own Social Security file right now. But unless you specifically ask for it by name, most representatives will never bring it up, because their job is to process your filing, not to walk you through every strategic option buried inside it. It's called the Benefit Verification and Planning Summary, and depending on how you request it, you may also see it referred to as your Detailed Earnings and Benefit Estimate. Same purpose, different name depending on the office. What matters isn't the label. What matters is what's inside it. Here's what no one tells you about this document. It contains 3 things most people never see clearly laid out in one place: your break-even age across every filing scenario, your survivor benefit projection if you're married, and your full delayed retirement credit schedule, month by month, not just year by year. Let's take these one at a time, because each one changes a real decision. First, the break-even age. Most people know vaguely that filing later means a bigger check, but almost nobody has seen the actual crossover point where delaying starts winning. This document shows it in black and white using your specific earnings history, not a generic online calculator using national averages. Your number could be completely different from your neighbor's number because your earnings record is different, your birth year is different, and your filing options are different. Second, the survivor benefit projection. If you're married, this is the section that changes most minds. It shows exactly what your spouse would receive if you passed away first, at every possible filing age. Most couples have never seen this number side by side with their own retirement income plan. When they do, the conversation changes immediately because it stops being about one person's monthly check and starts being about protecting a household for however long either spouse lives. Third, the delayed retirement credit schedule. This is the part that surprises people most. It's not a flat 8% added once a year. It accrues monthly, which means partial years of delay still count. If you're planning to file at 68 and a half instead of a clean 69, this document shows you exactly what that partial year is worth, down to the dollar. Most people don't realize you don't have to delay in full year increments to benefit. Every single month you wait adds value. So why doesn't the person behind the counter hand this to you automatically? It's not a conspiracy. It's workload. Social Security field offices process an enormous volume of claims every single day. Representatives are trained to help you file correctly, answer direct questions, and move to the next person in line. They are not trained, and often not given the time, to sit down and walk you through a strategic planning document unless you specifically request it by name. The system isn't built to hide this from you. It's just not built to volunteer it either. This is the gap between what's technically available to you and what actually reaches most retirees. And it's a gap that costs real money, year after year, for people who never knew to ask. Let's talk about how to actually request it, because the phrasing matters. If you call the Social Security office or visit in person, ask specifically for your detailed earnings and benefit estimate, including delayed retirement credit projections and survivor benefit comparisons across filing ages. That specific phrasing matters because a general request like, "Can I see my benefit information?" often just gets you the standard one-page estimate you can already pull online. The detailed version requires you to name what you're asking for. You can also request this through your online My Social Security account at SSA.gov. Once logged in, look for the detailed estimate tools, not just the summary on the homepage. The homepage gives you a simplified number. The tools underneath give you the full picture across multiple filing ages side by side. Now, here's a real example of why this matters. Consider a couple where the husband was the higher earner for most of his career. He assumed, like most people do, that filing at his full retirement age was good enough. He didn't ask for the detailed document. He filed and moved on with his life. Years later, working with a fee-only advisor on an unrelated question, he finally saw the delayed retirement credit schedule for the first time. Waiting just 2 more years to age 69 would have added several $100s a month to his check for the rest of his life and increased what his wife would eventually inherit as a survivor benefit if he passed away first. Nothing about his situation was unusual. He simply never saw the document that would have shown him the trade-off clearly in numbers specific to his own record before he made the decision. This is why the phrase, "no one tells you," isn't an exaggeration in this case. It's often literally true, not because anyone is hiding it deliberately, but because the system defaults to processing your request efficiently, not to educating you on every strategic branch available inside your own file. Let's go a layer deeper, because there's a second piece hiding inside the same document that almost nobody asks about. It's the earnings test projection, relevant if you're still working while filing early. If you claim before full retirement age and continue earning income above a certain threshold, a portion of your benefit gets temporarily withheld. Most people know this exists in a vague way. Very few have seen the actual dollar projection specific to their income, showing exactly how much would be withheld and when it gets returned to them later through a recalculation. That recalculation detail is the part almost nobody understands. The withheld money isn't gone. It's not a penalty in the traditional sense. Social Security recalculates your benefit once you reach full retirement age, crediting back the months where money was withheld. But very few people know to ask for this projection in advance, which means they experience the withholding as a shock rather than an expected temporary adjustment they planned around. So here's the practical roadmap in order. First, request your detailed earnings and benefit estimate by name, either online or directly at your local field office. Second, ask specifically for the delayed retirement credit schedule, broken down by month, not just by year. Third, if you're married, request the survivor benefit comparison across at least 3 filing ages, your earliest option, your full retirement age, and age 70. Fourth, if you're still working, request the earnings test projection so there are no surprises about temporary withholding. None of this requires a lawyer. None of this requires a fee-only advisor, although a good fee-only advisor can help you interpret it. This is public information you're entitled to. The only barrier has been knowing the specific document to ask for. One last thing worth saying plainly, because it matters more than it sounds like it should. Don't let embarrassment stop you from asking. A lot of people feel like requesting a detailed version of anything makes them look demanding or like they're questioning the representative's competence. That's not what's happening here. You're not questioning anyone. You're simply asking for the complete version of information that's already yours, sitting in a federal database with your name attached to it. There's no fee for asking. There's no penalty for asking. The only cost is the one that comes from not asking at all. And that cost compounds quietly, month after month, for as long as the gap goes unnoticed. Here's the recap. There's a real document sitting in your Social Security file right now that most people never see because they never ask for it by name. It contains your break-even age across filing scenarios, your survivor benefit projections if you're married, and your full delayed retirement credit schedule, down to the month. None of it is secret. All of it is available. But availability and awareness are 2 different things, and this entire video exists to close that gap for you. Before your next filing decision, or even if you've already filed and are reconsidering your strategy, request this document. Bring a notepad, ask the representative to walk you through each section, not just hand you the paper. And if the first person you speak with seems unfamiliar with it, ask to speak with a claims specialist because not every representative has been trained equally deep on the strategic planning side of these estimates. Let's address a question that comes up often. Does this document look the same at every office in every state? Mostly, yes. The underlying data comes from the same federal system, regardless of which field office you visit. What varies is presentation and how thoroughly a given representative walks you through it. Some offices print a clean, multi-page summary automatically once you ask. Others pull the same data into a slightly different format on screen and read it to you verbally. The content is consistent. The delivery isn't. That's exactly why asking by name matters so much, because it removes the guesswork from what you're asking a busy representative to pull up. Let's look at a second example, because this pattern shows up in more households than people expect. A widow, recently on her own after 41 years of marriage, went into her local office to ask a simple question about her own retirement timing. She wasn't thinking about her late husband's record at all. During that conversation, the representative mentioned, almost in passing, that she might be eligible for a survivor benefit based on his higher earnings history instead of her own smaller one. She had never been told this option existed. She had already been receiving her own benefit for 2 years, smaller than what she was entitled to under his record. Once she formally applied for the survivor benefit switch, her monthly income increased meaningfully, and importantly, that change wasn't retroactive beyond a limited window. Every month she didn't know to ask was a month of income she couldn't recover. This is the exact same pattern as the delayed retirement credit story. The information existed. The system wasn't hiding it maliciously, but without the specific question, specific document, specific request, it simply doesn't surface on its own. That's why this video keeps circling back to one theme. Ask by name. Ask specifically. Don't accept the general summary as the full picture, because in Social Security system, the general summary and the full picture are often two very different documents. Let's walk through the checklist one more time, cleanly, so you can write it down or pause here and take notes. 1. Request your detailed earnings and benefit estimate by that specific name, either through your online account or at your local field office. 2. Ask for the delayed retirement credit schedule broken down by month, not by year, especially if you're considering a partial year delay. 3. If you're married or if you're a widow or widower, request the survivor benefit comparison across at least 3 filing ages and ask directly whether switching to a spousal or survivor record based on someone else's earnings could increase your benefit. 4. If you're still working while filing early, request the earnings test projection so any temporary withholding is expected instead of a surprise. 5. If your first conversation feels rushed or the representative seems unfamiliar with these specific documents, politely ask to speak with a claims specialist or request a callback from someone with deeper training in benefit planning strategy. None of these 5 steps require special access. None of them require a fee. They require knowing exactly what to ask for in the exact language the system responds to, which is the entire reason this document stays invisible to so many people for so long. Here's the deeper truth underneath all of this. Social Security isn't designed to trick anyone, but it also isn't designed to proactively optimize your outcome. It's designed to process your claim accurately based on what you request. The optimization step, the part where you make sure you're getting every dollar you're entitled to, has always been on you or on whoever you choose to bring into the conversation with you. That's not a flaw to be angry about. It's simply how the system works. And now you know exactly how to work with it instead of against it. Once you have this document in hand, there's a second decision sitting right next to it, one that's just as easy to miss. Your detailed earnings and benefit estimate shows you your income picture across every filing age. But there's a specific window in your early retirement years, often overlooked entirely, where that same low income can be used to move money out of a traditional retirement account at a fraction of the tax cost you'd otherwise pay later. Miss this window, and it closes for good. We're covering exactly how that window works and why age matters more than most people realize next.